Hey guys, if you're already lying down, shoulders resting into the pillow, lights dimmed low, and the room just quiet enough to hear your own breath, then welcome back to another night here. I don't know how long your day has been, but if you're still awake at this hour, chances are you're looking for something slow, something soft, something quiet enough to carry you through the last leftover scraps of the day. You don't have to do a thing, just lie still and let your breath do the walking. Tonight we're going back to a time when roads weren't paved, taverns had no names, and the ale was always warm. No glowing signs, no soft music drifting from behind a door, just a hoarse laugh, an off-key song, and a bit of swearing rising with the steam of sour stew at the end of some muddy road. And if you're cold or sore or just tired of standing out there in the dark for one more minute, well, chances are you'd step inside too. But before we head in, if you're listening from a strange room or some familiar corner, you can leave a little note in the comments, just where you are, what time it is. I've always liked the idea of telling stories to someone getting sleepy on the other side of the screen, breathing slow in the dark. And if you'd like to hear more of this each night, you can follow the channel. No rush, just so you don't have to dig for it again next time. And if you're ready now, then let's step down that dirt road, where your shoes start making that soft squelching sound, like the soles are peeling off with every step. You walk slow, more like dragging your feet, through a stretch of mud torn up by boots, hooves, and old cartwheels for days on end. The road's lost its shape now, just a streak of soft brown soaked through like a wet rag left out in the yard. Every time your heel comes down, it sinks a little. The mud pulls at your soles and slides like melting butter, cold and clinging, wrapping around your ankles until your legs feel heavier with every step. The early winter wind doesn't whistle. It just slips down your collar, settles on the back of your neck, and stays there, cold and stubborn. Your hands are dry and cracked, not from the chill, but because your coat's been damp for days. The fabric scrapes against your skin like a sandpaper that's gone soft. Every move sparks a faint sting near your wrists, your knuckles, like your joints are quietly complaining about being dragged outside tonight. The air is thick and wet, with that sharp smell of rotting turnips, smoky firewood, and old vegetable broth from pots that haven't seen soap in a while. You don't want to breathe, but you do, and each breath brings in a stew of kitchen smoke, barnyard funk, and scummy water someone forgot to empty. A rickety turnip cart creaks by, tilted to one side, splashing mud up to your knees. It's not loud, but it's sharp enough to make you step back without thinking. Your stomach's been murmuring, not growling, just bubbling like a pot left to simmer on a stone stove. Not enough to dizzy you, just enough to stretch the distance ahead. Everything feels farther. People blur into shadows. The road stretches longer. Every step feels like someone added half a pound to your boots. Your gut's been quietly reminding you that maybe it's been 3 days since you ate anything solid, or 5. Hard to tell when hunger's just the background noise now. Another gust hits your legs, slips under the edge of your coat, and you shiver, not because you're cold exactly, you've gotten used to that, but because the wet fabric brushes your skin again, damp, cold, sticky, like putting on a swimsuit that never quite dried. Your chest tightens trying to keep your breath steady, but the cloth stuck to your back like glue, and each movement tugs just enough to itch. You can't really see the road ahead, Fog and smoke have folded together, and things only show up in pieces. A tree here, a low roof there, old wheel tracks. Sometimes you spot other footprints. You don't know if they're new or old. You wonder how many folks have walked this way, this late at night, with the same empty belly as you. Every time you lift your foot, something tugs at your whole body. It's not the weight, it's the mud trying to keep you a few seconds longer. Your shoes are soaked. Every step makes that soft squelch, like chewing on wet straw. You don't even know where the last dry spot on your body is. One pant leg is caked with dirt, mud the color of turnips left boiling too long, and now it's crusted over like glue. You pause, not to rest, just because the wind changed. Smoke rolls down your collar sharp and sour, and you cough once. The sound doesn't echo. The night just takes it in and keeps it, like a thick blanket thrown over everything. You hunch your neck a little deeper, though the collar's already too damp to help. Your hands rub together, but all that gives you now is friction, not heat. Then, barely there, you hear a voice. Or maybe it's singing, maybe laughing, not close, not far, just floating there between the wind and your footsteps. You blink, clear the fog from your eyes, and you see something. Not quite a house, not quite a tavern, just a slanted wooden roof, a patchy wall, and a crooked sign swinging like it's been slapped by the wind one too many times. You're not sure if it's the place you were looking for, but when your belly gurgles again, your knees start to ache, and the mud seems to rise another inch, then any place with a voice inside is a place you might need to be. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, all you really need is a house with a light, a laugh, and a door that hasn't been locked. You take another step, then another, not faster, not slower, just one more step like every other night. Wind slips through the cracks in the roof ahead, carrying the smell of old beer and damp wool, and you know, it's time to push that wooden door open. You step closer, and the sounds grow clearer. Not exactly talking, not really singing either, just a string of offbeat noise, hoarse laughter, voices shouting something that doesn't need words, and every now and then, the thud of a wooden mug against a table edge. It's the kind of noise you don't have a name for, but your body knows it by heart, the sort that only shows up when folks have had a few too many and forgotten why they came to the tavern in the first place. The roof comes into view now, slanted hard to one side, like the beams inside have been giving up one by one. You get the feeling that if someone leaned on it the wrong way, the whole place might just give up too. The wooden walls are dark and cracked, like dry skin left out all winter. The door shifts in the breeze, groaning soft like someone who's too tired to argue. You don't stop walking, not because you're fearless, just because standing still means the wind finds its way deeper down your collar, and your back already hurts too much to bother turning around. There's a sign hanging out front, big as half the door, paint mostly peeled away. What's left might be a keg with legs, or a bear sitting down, or maybe a big-bellied man toasting himself. You're not sure. Probably no one is anymore. And honestly, on a night like this, reading the sign matters less than knowing there's fire and beer behind that wall. A drop of rain slips straight down your collar, cold like a pebble shaken off a roof tile. Then a few more, steady and careless, tapping your shoulders, your neck, your wrists, like someone tapping a spoon on your skin. You pull your collar in out of habit, but your coat hasn't been dry since 2 nights ago. The fabric drags across you like a wet rag on a table. You press a hand against your side for a little warmth, but your fingers are going slow now, like they're sinking into a bowl of ice water. The wind cuts around the edge of the house, carrying something strange. Not strong, not sharp, just a musty whiff of damp wool, smoke that never finished burning, and something else that might be the smell of sleep trapped inside an old coat. The air here isn't clean, it's thick, dense, like you could reach out and feel it. Every breath stretches your lungs and draws back slow, like they're starting to argue with your nose about whether it's worth the trouble. You brush your sleeve with a hand, swipe off a few raindrops, then step up one more stair. The stone step is worn thin and slick, and it lets out a soft squeak under your shoe. You lean in, lower your head a little, and look at the door ahead, a heavy oak thing, dark with age, clawed with scratches like a stray cat's been practicing. The hinge is crooked. The handle wiggles when you touch it. You don't knock. No one knocks on tavern doors at this hour. You just pause, listen, and rest your hand on it. The handle's cold, metal left out in the mist, but not sharp. It's slick, faintly greasy, like someone touched it after dinner, and nobody wiped it down. Your fingers curl, not tightly, just enough to shift the door open a sliver. The hinge lets out a long sound, not loud but cutting, like a blade sliding over old stone. And right then, you know there's no turning back. There's light behind the door, uneven and flickering, the kind that comes from fire that's not sure if it's dying or waking up. There are voices, too, still laughing, still singing off-key, still arguing over nothing. No one invites you in, no one comes to greet you. But the door's open now, and that's enough. Your eyes squint into the room. After all that street dark, the firelight hits quick and sharp. The smell doesn't rush out right away. It waits, thick, slow, like it's testing you first. But you stay where you are for a moment, not out of doubt, just because your knees are still trying to catch up, shaking off the last of the cold mud clinging to your boots. Your coat, already soaked, has gone stiff around your wrists. You let out a long breath and feel it settle heavy in your chest. Then the door drifts open another inch, not by a hand but by the wind. A soft nudge in your back, barely there, but just enough to move you forward. Like the night has run out of reasons to keep you outside. Your stomach is still murmuring, not loud, just steady. The back of your neck is cold and damp, your legs are half numb, and your hands haven't felt much in a while. But the door is open now, the light is waiting. And that smell, whatever it is inching closer. And when the tip of your shoe touches the threshold, where the hard dirt gives way to damp straw, a thick breath of air rolls out, not fierce, but dense, like the whole room just exhaled into your face. The first breath of air hits your face like a heavy wool blanket, damp, warm, and with a smell that spent too long inside a kitchen that forgot how to be clean. You don't know where it's coming from. Maybe a pot left bubbling too long, maybe someone's coat that never got dry, maybe the floor soaked in something no one should have used for cleaning. You pause not because you're unsure, but because your nose is doing too much all at once. Burnt smoke, old beer, wet fur, damp wood, and something like grease that once caught fire and got slapped straight onto the floor. The door behind you swings slowly shut with the wind, creaking the way old boots sound when they tap gently on wood. For a moment you can't hear the rain anymore, just the muffled hum of people inside, drifting like it's coming from a cellar. The light in here isn't much brighter than the street, but your body knows the difference. No wind. Just a thick, heavy layer of air that pushes in soft but firm and keeps hold of you like a blanket you didn't ask for. You blink a few times, trying to catch the shape of the dark. There's a bit of firelight in one corner. Not a flame, really, just the low, steady glow of half-dead coals. The heat's not enough for the whole room, but it warms one side of your face in small, slow waves, then lets it cool again when you turn away. Not exactly pleasant, but not bad either, like someone breathing gently on your cheek from across a bowl of soup. Your collar starts to tighten, not from wind, but from the damp settling deeper into the cloth. The part near your neck is already soaked, now sticky like wet leather pressed too close. You swallow, not from thirst, but because your throat's starting to itch. Could be the smoke, could be people. Could be some forgotten meat hanging up near the beams, left there longer than anyone remembers. You rub your chin once, your fingers brushing over patchy stubble, cold and sharp. The other hand still holds the front of your coat, like a reflex you didn't drop at the door. You take half a step farther in, and your shoe makes a soft squish, not from the floor, but because your shoes have been drinking in water all evening. Feels like you're walking on a sponge that's slowly giving up. The air inside doesn't move, or if it does, it's slow, like the breath of an old man asleep in his chair. You smell something like stew left overnight, mixed with cold ashes and spilled liquor that never got cleaned up. It's not strong, not sharp, but stand here long enough, and it'll sink into your sleeves, your collar, the lining of your coat, and follow you the rest of the day. You glance around, but nothing's clear yet. The firelight's just enough to catch a forehead here, a nose there, the edge of a table. No faces, not really, just a few figures hunched close, murmuring soft, neither loud nor low, like folks talking right before sleep catches up to them. Someone turns toward you, or doesn't. In the dark, eyes are just the faint shift of a tilted head. There's no breeze, but the back of your neck is still cold. Could be sweat drying. Could be the room's uneven air, warm one second, cool the next, like someone breathing in and out beside you. Your hands are damp again, though the rain has stopped. One fingers the edge of your coat, maybe checking if there's any patch left dry. You breathe in deep, not because you're nervous, but because your lungs want something real. There's air in here, sure, but it's been exhaled a few times already. Nothing fresh. Like a room where nobody's cracked a window since the last snowfall. Still, you stay where you are, not out of curiosity, but because it's colder outside, and in here at least, there's fire. Your feet finally take one more step, deeper in, even though your eyes still haven't caught up. The floor creaks under you, but no one turns, no one looks, no one speaks. And that's a relief, really, like slipping into a strange dream where nobody asks who you are, and nobody needs you to say anything. You spot a spot near the fire, warm light stretched over a bowed wooden table, one long bench, and just one person sitting. You don't rush. You're still watching the floor, sunken in places, scattered with straw, and one dark patch of something wet that didn't spill long ago. The smell grows clearer now, not fresh, not clean, but familiar. Like a kitchen that turned into a bedroom when no one was looking. Your chest rises and falls, not with breath, but with the shifts of smell and heat. Your eyes blink slower now, a little steam gathering at the corners. The air feels like a thick blanket thrown over your whole body, not heavy, but stubborn, like someone else's skin still clinging to it. And under all that, you hear wood groaning, fire crackling, and a mug clinking gently against a table. You're still standing, back resting against the wall. Your eyes are starting to adjust, and now you can see the ceiling beams, low, but not so low you have to duck. Just low enough that if you want to move forward, you'll need to lean a little, and that's when you realize this isn't a place for standing. This room was made for lowering your head, for sitting down, and for staying. You duck your head a little, not out of manners, but because the ceiling's creeping down like a wooden trap. The beams run across, uneven and darkened with years of smoke and time, low enough that if you breathe too hard, your breath might brush against them. There's a dent in one of the closer beams, right where someone just a bit taller than you left behind a memory shaped like a scar or a curse. You slow your step. Your boot taps something soft and damp, not quite a floor, more like packed dirt that's been walked on too long, with dips and ridges like the bottom of an old stew pot. On top of it there's straw, no longer golden, no longer crisp, just gray and dull like potato skins forgotten behind the stove. It sinks a little under your foot, not quite wet, not quite dry, just sticky enough to feel like a rag left too long in a dark corner. You look down and see a thin line of water cutting across the floor, catching the firelight like a streak of cold oil. Nobody avoids it because nobody needs to. Boot prints and bare feet have layered over one another so many times there's no telling which came first, just the mess of walking, of falling, of trying to stand up after too much drink. You step around it, not because you mind the mess, but because you're too tired to risk slipping on something that doesn't even have a name. Closer to the ground, the air has its own smell, low and heavy. Not as sharp as what's up higher, but thicker, slower, and oddly weighted. There's wet straw in it, and feet, and mushrooms growing out of wood, and the sour breath of old beer seeping back up through the floor. You breathe out through your nose, slow. No point rushing it. That smell doesn't leave just because you want it gone. It only fades when you stop trying to fight it. You turn your head just in time to see someone walking toward you, tall, drunk, and not ducking. And right on cue, his forehead meets the beam with a sound that's weirdly exact. A dry thunk, like a bruised apple hitting a cutting board. He wobbles, curses something vague, and walks on like nothing happened. You step back half a pace, not to dodge, just to mark the ceiling's height in your brain for next time. You notice a few bits of straw stuffed between the boards up above, maybe to block the wind, or maybe just the leftover habit from someone's patch job years ago. The straw shifts slightly when people pass, swaying like it's waiting to fall on your shoulder. The fire doesn't reach the ceiling, so everything above feels drowned in fog. Only half shapes, no details. Your hand still resting near your hip, where the coat has started to dry. Not quite dry, but not dripping either. One shoulder feels heavier than the other, maybe from the rain still clinging, maybe from the way the air presses down in here. Feels like walking under a low cellar ceiling, one that doesn't threaten you, but doesn't quite let you stand tall either. Someone sitting nearby sniffs, then sighs. Their breath melts into the room, no different from the rest. Just one more drop of ink into a bowl that was already black. The smell of people and the smell of the floor don't seem separate anymore, like someone mixed their boots and body into the earth and left it there. You don't react. You're not surprised. These smells
unpleasant as they are, feel more familiar than anything waiting outside. You lift your foot and take a few steps, still watching the beams. One of them has something hanging off it, some kind of leather pouch, swaying gently, not clear what it holds. Could be spices, could be medicine, could just be someone's idea of decoration with unusual taste. You look away from it. The swinging shadow throws you off a little, not from the drink, but because the whole room seems to lean just a bit to the left. Your foot slips on a patch of soaked straw, but you catch yourself. The earth below feels like wet dough, sticking in clumps to your soles. Every step leaves a soft dent, then disappears as the straw falls back over it. You're not the first person to walk this way tonight, and you won't be the last. Somewhere in the back, you hear a chair scrape, a wooden leg dragging across dirt, making a sound like teeth grinding in sleep. The ceiling shifts with it, not much, just enough to remind you it's not entirely steady. You glance up once more, then dip your shoulder slightly, as if your body has just passed the test it didn't know it was taking. You start walking slower, not because you're tired, but because there are people up ahead now. A bench runs along the wall, its back warmed by fire, and there's just enough space left for you to squeeze in. Before moving closer, you look down one last time. The ground is still damp, still cold, but now it feels familiar, like part of the night itself.
You breathe in gently through your nose. The smells are all still there. Dirt, straw, old beer, and human breath. But they don't hold you back anymore. Feels like you've stepped into a strange kind of sleep, and all that's left to do now is curl up somewhere. Doesn't matter what the air smells like, as long as you don't have to keep walking. You weave your way through the packed seats, sometimes twisting sideways to dodge a knee sticking out at the wrong time, or a bowl that never made it back to the kitchen. The hearth seems to be the only thing breathing out a bit of warmth. Not exactly comforting, but still better than the wind that used to creep down your sleeves. You pick a long oak bench, worn down and tilted, like someone spent all of winter sitting in the same spot and never bothered to shift. It curves like an old farmer's back, the middle sagging to one side, and the whole thing slants just enough to make you feel like you're sitting on a slow-moving slide. As you sit down, your ankle joint complains first, a soft crack, barely audible, but enough to pause your breath. The wood beneath you is slightly damp, not clear if it's spilled drink or creeping fog, but the cold hits your spine in an instant. The back of your shirt sticks to your lower back like a sponge that never dried. You shift right, only to find that side's even lower. Your body tilts unwillingly that way, and soon one hip is buzzing numb while the other tenses up to hold balance. The spot you've landed in probably belonged to someone or something, judging by the dent in the wood and a dark ring that could be a burn mark, or dried beer, or something you'd rather not name. The air near the fire is drier, but it carries the scent of half-burnt wood and something like wet hair. Next to you, a large man has slumped into the bench, his cloak spilling over onto your arm. You try to shift it without touching him, but all you do is smear a soaked patch of wool across your wrist like a kitchen rag no one remembered to wring out. The man doesn't stink exactly, but he's wearing a blend of damp wool, smoke, and salt that lingers from old sweat. It doesn't hit you. It creeps into each breath, slow and steady, like you're borrowing air from someone else without asking. Now and then he shifts, sending out a new wave of warmth,
and your sleeve clings tighter to your arm, as if it's been sewn there. You try to lift your elbow, but it doesn't go far, like your coat is now part of the bench or part of him. You lean back toward the wall, hoping to find support, but the boards are cold and rigid, with a few splinters poking through your shirt. You sit up again, a bit hunched, like a softened candle with nothing left to hold it straight. Under the bench, the dirt dips a little. Every time you move your feet, your heels slide on the damp floor like stepping on dried moss in an old stone kitchen. Your knees stay pressed together in the narrow space, while your feet feel stiff and frozen, still soaked from the rain outside. You glance around the room, hoping to distract yourself from the slow creep of cold through the fabric. But everything here is the same shade of worn-out brown: walls, benches, tables, floor, only different in how damp or stained they are. A dog is sprawled under the table by the hearth, wheezing in its sleep. Its paw nudges your boot, then pulls back, like both of you were surprised to touch. You don't react. If anything, its presence makes the floor seem a little less empty. You close your eyes for a few seconds, not because you're tired, but because the smoke and dry air are starting to sting. When you open them again, the fire throws crooked shadows across the ceiling beams, like someone shaking a curtain made of ash. Your back starts to feel warm, not from the hearth, probably just from sitting on this tilted plank too long. You shift your position again, and your hand brushes against the wet patch of coat beside you. This time it sticks, like pressing your palm to a cold, soggy mop.
No one speaks to you, and you're not planning to speak to anyone. But your presence has started to sink into the background hum of the place. The scrape of benches, the clink of cups, someone laughing too loud before hitting the wrong note in a song. You can feel each sound through your hips, through your palms, through the part of your back pressed to the wood, like the whole tavern is an old instrument, and you're one of the strings no one bothers to tune anymore. Wind doesn't get in here, but you still shiver, not from cold, but from the way the whole room seems to hold you in an old, damp skin. You try breathing through your mouth instead, but the heat of it disappears fast, swallowed up by the thick air. Every inhale feels like a drag of smoke wrapped in wet cloth, just sharp enough to sting. You shut your eyes again, not to sleep, just waiting for all of this to start feeling normal. A few minutes pass with the fire crackling, someone sniffling behind you, and a cup tapping quietly on wood, until it all settles into a rhythm you didn't notice you were falling into. And then, like a slow wave rolling onto the shore, something else begins to rise and take over your attention: the smell. You haven't been sitting long when it hits you. The real thing filling this place isn't the voices or the light. It's the smell, not one you can name. More like everything that's ever happened in this room decided to crawl back out of the walls at once and climb straight into your nose. The air is thick, warm, and damp, thick enough you could probably scoop it. Old beer, mildew, fermented sweat, and a heavy layer of used-up breath form something between thin soup and fog. Every time you inhale, your throat tightens, like it's trying to reject the entire idea of breathing. And every exhale feels like you're just feeding more of yourself into the room. The smell starts to climb your shirt, slipping through your already damp collar. You rub your neck and realize your hands smell too, maybe from your sleeve, maybe from the bench, maybe from the man beside you, but definitely not from you, not to begin with. You try breathing through your mouth instead, hoping your tongue might be less picky than your nose. No luck. The smell has a taste, greasy, bitter, and warm in the way dishwater tastes when someone forgets to rinse the cup. The man at the next table shifts and lets out a loud fart, like he's trying to help with air circulation. You don't look, you don't need to. The smell gets there first. It's something between onions forgotten under a kitchen sink, wet straw from the floor, and a wool coat that never came off all winter. Every time you try to breathe through your mouth, the air still finds its way back up into your nose. And your eyes. They sting, not from smoke, but from too many layers of scent piled up like... There's one smell like meat boiled too long, but without enough salt. Could be from the kitchen. Could be from someone who just walked past. Either way, it's still alive. Something sticky ends up on your hand. Maybe beer, maybe grease, maybe... No need to finish that thought. You wipe it on the table, which turns out to be a mistake. The table's wet and slick, like it was wiped with a rag nobody had the guts to wash. A bit of wind finds its way through the door crack, and you think maybe it'll clear the air. Instead, it lifts the smell of someone's feet and flings it higher, like adding one more bass note to a song that already has too much brass. You sit still, not because it's comfy, but because you're not sure if standing means giving up your seat. And you're also not sure what'll squirt out from the damp spot you're sitting on. A rag drops from the ceiling, or maybe from someone's coat hanging off the rafters. It lands on the table in front of you, soaked in something brown, and smells like a mop used for feet. No one looks at it. No one seems surprised, and neither do you. Your body is starting to adapt, not because it wants to, but because it has no other option. A server walks by with a tray of cups, the liquid inside cloudy, like grain water left on the stove too long. Each step leaves a wet patch on the floor, and a trail of scent behind him. You try not to picture where his hands have been. His old leather coat is steaming, could be sweat, could be from leaning too close to the fire. You realize the smell clinging to you isn't yours anymore. It's just one more voice in the oily, humming chorus of this room. Your back starts itching, that kind of itch you can't reach, like when breadcrumbs get stuck inside a sweater. You shift left, and the bench creaks like it just woke up from a bad dream. The man next to you coughs, hard and smoky, and the flap of his coat brushes your cheek. It smells like damp wool and scalp, left to ripen through 3 full seasons. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to stop your brain from cataloging any more new smells. After a while, you stop noticing anything specific. Everything blends together, like a thin soup, where you can't tell which vegetable is which. It's warm. It clings. That's when your body gives up. And maybe that's the only way to understand the smell here. It doesn't change, it doesn't pretend, and it sure doesn't ask to be liked. But it's real. Somewhere near the hearth, someone takes their shoes off. You hear the leather hit the floor and the crack of toes stretching. Then comes a new wave of scent, like a new dish being served. You tell yourself you'll get used to it. Maybe even miss it one day. Maybe. But while you're still deciding whether to keep breathing or give it up completely, the table gives a soft shake, like someone under the floor just sighed, long and deep. You still carry the smell of that tavern, a warm, damp blend that clings to every crease of your coat and every strand of hair. Your tongue feels sticky, like you just licked the bottom of a cup someone forgot to wash after yesterday's lunch. And when you shift on the sagging bench, trying to find a better position, everything around you gives a little sway. Not because you're dizzy, but because the floor's moving too. At first you think it's the ale, but then you notice the ground under your feet isn't exactly solid. It slides ever so slightly when someone walks by. The table in front of you shifts a bit too, like someone nudged it with a knee or a breeze passed through. One of its legs clacks against the floor, a little reminder not to get too confident with anything here. You try placing both hands on the table, grounding yourself, but a tremor travels up from the leg to your elbow, and you let go. The wooden cup in front of you tips toward you, then rocks back. It doesn't spill. It just sways gently, like it's waiting for someone to start a song everybody knows, but no one quite remembers. You look around. A large man at the next table is bobbing his shoulders to some tune in his head, tapping his chest like a drum. His chair lets out a soft groan, then turns slightly, like an old hound shifting in its sleep. He doesn't notice. No one does. Everyone here seems used to it, like this is just how nights behave. The firelight bounces off the dark ceiling boards, making them ripple like sunlight under murky water. You glance up, then look down fast when a fleck of ash brushes past your ear. The air's thick enough in here that you can feel it move when someone lifts their arm to take a sip. The bench under you doesn't just sag, it slides. Every time you shift your weight, it scoots a bit. You plant one foot firm on the ground to steady yourself. But even the ground isn't really ground. It's a mat of wet straw over tightly packed earth, and it holds you about as well as anything else in here. A woman near the door laughs, throws her head back, waves her arms like she's dancing. Her chair rocks forward, back legs barely touching. You hold your breath, but she just laughs again and sits down like nothing happened. Sometimes it's hard to tell where the drunk ends and the nature of the place begins. Your table trembles every time someone passes behind you, and there are a lot of them. They bring boots full of mud, damp cloaks, loud voices, and sometimes a wet dog. You pull your knees in close like you're sitting in a small wooden boat on a still pond. No water rushing in, but nowhere to go either. You lift your cup, but the liquid inside shifts, like it's not quite ready to cooperate. Your hand shakes, not from cold, but from trying not to spill anything onto the table. The man beside you moves and drops a coin. It hits the floor with a tiny ping, but you feel the whole table jolt in response. A window flaps open and slams shut in the wind. The hinge screams, and your head turns. The frame tilts slightly, like it's resisting being closed. Everything here leans, wobbles, sways, as if the whole place is trying to breathe in its own rhythm. And maybe you've started breathing with it too. The wooden wall behind you creaks, maybe from someone leaning on it, maybe from the wind outside. The sound runs straight down your back and makes you sit up. Your bench groans again, this time like it's sighing. You know better than to trust it, but for now, it's all that's keeping you off the ground, or something close to ground. Someone stands up in the far corner, and your table wobbles once more. This time, your cup slides forward a full inch, leaving a round, wet mark behind, like a wagon wheel print in old snow. You smile to yourself, push the cup back, and hold it gently with one finger, like you're drawing a line you shouldn't cross. You glance down. Your shoes are caked in mud, slowly soaking up whatever dampness the floor has left. If your socks had any dry spot, they don't anymore.
Your knees ache from holding steady, but you don't complain. At least there's fire here, and a chair, however crooked.
Nobody else seems bothered by the unsteadiness. They keep raising their cups, keep laughing, keep drifting in and out of the tavern's slow, uncertain rhythm. You spot a man in the corner with a 3-stringed lute, shifting on his seat to find the right angle. The instrument hums a sleepy note, and then he starts to pluck something loose and without timing. You let your shoulders go. It feels like being in a wagon that's pulled over for the night. Nothing's nailed down, but nothing's falling apart either. Just a gentle, steady sway, like the breath of a room that's known drunkenness longer than it's known silence. You keep one foot on the ground, knee angled out to dodge the edge of the table. An empty mug wobbles near your hand, clinking faintly like it's whispering. You touch the edge of the table to keep your balance and feel the warmth worn into the wood by countless other hands. The wind slips through the door again, the fire flinches, and you pull your hand back. Even with everything rocking, you stay put, like you've found your own rhythm in the middle of all this imbalance. You turn your head slightly. Your ears catch something new. Not music, not a voice. More like the wind curling inside old walls. The kind of sound that only shows up when everything else has gone quiet. The noise in the tavern doesn't crash down like thunder. It seeps in like a slow, endless rain, one drop at a time, until you stop knowing where it's coming from. Maybe someone shouting about the price of a chicken, or some gravel-voiced soul is howling through a song no one asked for. Somewhere, a spoon taps on a keg, offbeat, repetitive, like a heart out of sync after a long, cold day. Every now and then, a dog barks from some corner, then stops, then barks again, like even it isn't sure what it's reacting to. You can't catch a single sound. They all hit your ears like gusts of wind. No shape, no direction. Your ears buzz like drumheads being slapped with greasy hands, over and over. The noise isn't loud. It's sticky. It doesn't startle you. It just wraps around your head like a damp towel. A laugh bursts out right next to your ear, close enough to make you flinch, even though there's nothing scary about it. It doesn't echo. It's wet, like someone's breath brushed your neck without meaning to. You tilt your head, not to get away, just to check if your neck still works. You turn your cup slowly in your left hand, giving your fingers something to do while your mind looks for anything to hold on to. The cup isn't smooth or cold, just tacky, like it's been held by someone with taffy stuck to their palms. You set it down, then pick it up again. It's not a decision, just the kind of motion people do when they scratch an itch that isn't there. You're not hungry, not thirsty, just a little headachy, not the sharp kind, more like something tiny crawling in circles between your eyebrows. The clink of a cup hits again, this time with a mumble. You're not sure if it's cursing or lullaby. Everything feels like it's been going on too long, even the noise. No one else in the place seems bothered. An old woman at the next table is still counting something on her fingers over and over, like she's checking how many onions she brought to market last week. A bearded man is having a private chat with a hunk of bread. No one stops him. No one watches. Around here, sound is normal. Silence is what's strange. You try to tune into a conversation, any conversation, but they all melt together like vegetable broth. No start, no end. Just a pot of noise letting off steam. You squint, not because your eyes can't see, but because you're trying to shrink the room, maybe find one scrap of quiet to anchor to. You don't. The chaos here doesn't need to be loud. It soaks through your skin, seeps into your collar, makes the hair on your neck stand up like it just got a message from cold that isn't about temperature. A sneeze cracks out behind you like a firework, and your back jerks like you've been splashed with something. It doesn't happen again, but the back of your neck stays wet, like after a sudden rain. You pull your hand into your sleeve, not to warm up, just to hide from what's happening. But the sleeve is wet too, so your hand just trades one damp place for another. Another laugh rises, this one farther away. It scratches across the air like a thin cut on an old tabletop. Not deep, not sharp, but enough to make someone wince. You glance around, not to find who laughed, just to remind yourself you're still in a room with walls and a roof and not somewhere else entirely. Then another sound, and another. Like an orchestra, no one's conducting, but no one's stopping either. You wonder, what would it be like if all of this went quiet? But the thought slides away fast, like a drop of water on hard dirt. This place wasn't built for silence. Even your bench doesn't want to sit still. It creaks like it's done holding people for the night. The table leans to the right, then tilts back to the left whenever someone shifts their elbows. Your cup wobbles too, not enough to spill, but enough to make you hold it with both hands like a cat that doesn't want to be picked up. The dog barks again, this time from right under your table. You don't look down, but you can feel it staring. Not because you matter, just because you've taken its usual spot. You slide over a bit, which pushes your back into someone's damp sweater. It smells like fabric that once fell into soup and then dried halfway under a leaking roof. You breathe out, then stop breathing. Every inhale uncovers a new layer of smell your tongue has to name. Another cup hits the floor, not broken, just enough to make people turn and look. Not to help, just to see if they know the face involved. A voice rises, unclear but clearly directed. Someone stands, then sits back down, maybe remembering something they forgot to finish. Nobody laughs, nobody argues. A spoon keeps tapping a glass like a clock without hands. You rub your forehead, no sweat but not dry either. Your scalp feels like it just passed through a salty mist. Not painful, just not quite comfortable. You tilt your head to pull your ear away from the tavern's unwilling chorus. But the sound here doesn't need ears. It creeps in through collars, rides along scent and steam, and lands somewhere inside you. You twist your cup again, then stop. Your eyes don't focus on anything, they're just open. Everything around you still moves, still talks, still hums. You can't find a rhythm, can't pick out a melody, can't tell where anything begins, but that's fine. Because in all the noise, one thing stays steady, the quiet thrum of a place too used to chaos to be surprised, too old to fake it, too alive to sit still. You blink, not to clear anything, just to remind yourself you still can. And when you open them, you find the sound no longer bothers you. Not really. Like an itch you've given up on scratching. You lean gently into the wall, not to escape the noise, but to match your breath to it. And somewhere in that rhythm, you hear something new, quieter, heavier, like wood being touched by something not quite clean. You make your way toward the long plank pushed up against the wall, the one they call the counter, though it looks like it wouldn't stay standing without the two barrels shoved underneath. The top is warped, scratched every which way, and stained in patches dark enough that you stop wondering whether it's beer, grease, or something older no one wants to remember. You set your hand on it and immediately feel that sticky pull, like you just touched glue made from fish and molasses. Behind the counter, the man who's probably the owner is hunched over, pouring something thick and dark from a wooden barrel. His hand never leaves the spout, steady as someone who's done this since the flood. His eyes don't land on you or the cup. They scan the room like he's hunting for a face that still owes him money. He might not remember your name, but if you once shorted him a coin last winter, he'll remember just enough to collect. With a stare or a stick, you tap the counter just once. Your fingertip sticks to it like it's caught under a film of warm syrup. When you pull away, it feels like dragging your hand through the breath of an overripe cellar. The barkeep doesn't say anything, but a wide hand slides a clay cup toward you. The rim is chipped, just like every other cup in the place. You grab it with both hands, not out of respect. You just don't want it slipping and shattering on the wet dirt floor. A line of cold sweat rolls down your spine, even though the air inside hasn't moved in hours. It's the kind of cold that comes from the inside, when you're not sure what you just ordered, but you know you're going to drink it anyway. Nobody asked what you wanted. Nobody offered a smile. Transactions here are made with a glance, a nod, and a cup of something. Warmer than expected, stronger than hoped for, and sometimes with a little extra surprise floating in it. The surface of the cup is spider-webbed with cracks, the kind that blister slightly when the firing wasn't even. You bring it near your nose. The smell hits like steam off reused dishwater. Hard to tell what it's supposed to be. Maybe malt, maybe fermented turnip, or maybe just the ghost of old beer that's lived too long in an unwashed barrel. You tip the cup slightly, not to drink yet, just to see how the liquid moves. It's slower than water, faster than syrup, like it's still making up its mind. You raise the cup to your lips. The rim scratches a little, like a dull knife across your mouth. You sip, not quite a drink, just enough to let it touch your tongue and trickle down slow. The taste is bitter and sour, like something alive gave up halfway. Could be fermentation, could be whatever's been living in the cup. You swallow. Your throat tightens and a warmth rolls through your chest. Not pleasant, but at least it feels real. You set the cup down, crooked because the counter isn't flat. The barkeep still says nothing, just nods once, as if a ceremony has concluded. You wipe your hand on your sleeve, only to find it's even stickier now. Could be sweat, could be beer. Or maybe this place just keeps a little bit of everyone who touches it. You don't say anything. No one here says much. The man beside you coughs like he's trying to comment on his drink, but hasn't found the words. You don't look over. The heat, the mold, the floor creaking underfoot, it all blends together until you're not sure what's real anymore. You keep both hands on your cup like it's the one solid object left in the room that isn't trying to slide away. You lean gently against the counter and let your thoughts drift into the noise behind you. A cup clinks. Someone whistles through their teeth. Laughter rises, then stops mid-note, like they remembered they hadn't eaten. You hear everything but nothing in particular, just a thick stew of sound circling, bubbling, never quite settling. A soft tremor rolls through the ground and your cup tilts left. You steady it, careful, like you're calming a nervous stray. No one else notices. In this place, things shake, slide, lean, and nobody asks why. You swirl the cup. The drink inside shifts like warm mud, and you know you haven't drunk enough yet to forget how it smells.
The second cup hasn't arrived, but you already know it won't be better than the first. That's fine. Nobody here expects good liquor. They just want something with color, with bite, with heat, and a reason to stay a little longer. You glance around and exhale slowly, letting your breath mix into the room's thick air. It doesn't rise, it just stays, part of the fog that never quite lifts. And then, right on time, you hear a sound behind you, the sharp scuff of someone standing up too fast, or a chair giving up its balance. You don't turn around, you don't need to. You've heard it 100 times, even though this is your first night in the tavern. That sound means only one thing: the night isn't over yet.
You lift the cup, and the warmth alone makes your palm tense a little. Not hot exactly, but warm enough to know it's been near something recently cooked, or at least not forgotten out in the yard. The liquid inside is murky brown, like rice water left sitting overnight, with streaks of oily film drifting on top like grease floating through early rain. No bubbles, no strong scent, just something thick and reluctant, as if even it isn't sure it wants to be drunk. The rim is thick and rough, chipped a little on the left. When your lips meet the clay, it scrapes the skin like a worn-down whetstone. Not painful, just bothersome. The smell rising from the cup is hard to name, a bit sour, like dried fruit squeezed one too many times. A hint of old kitchen rag. Either way, you drink. Not because you're thirsty, just because the cup is there, and you've got nothing better to do. The first sip slides in like a liquid that doesn't quite want to be called liquor. It's sluggish, thick, and clings to your tongue like damp cloth wrung out from a barrel of pickles. You swallow, not from desire, but instinct, the body trying to move things along. Then comes the metallic aftertaste, maybe from the cup, maybe from some rusty part of the brewing barrel, or maybe it's just what this beer tastes like, having grown up in the dark and never once met daylight. You stop. Set the cup down. Let your mouth breathe. Your tongue still carries a waxy film, like someone rubbed it with candle grease. Your throat warms, but not kindly. It's the kind of warmth that snaps, like too strong ginger tea when no one was measuring. You close your eyes for a few seconds, not to feel anything, just to forget. When you open them, everything's still the same. Diamond soy's damp, loud in that vague way where no one seems to be talking to anyone in particular. You try another sip. You're more prepared this time, but it's no easier. The liquid coats the roof of your mouth like wax, and when it finally slides down, it leaves behind something that feels like steam in a public bathhouse after a winter crowd. Not a smell, a sensation, thick, warm, stuck. Your fingers touch the cup again. This time, you feel the tiny crack near your pinky. The cup hasn't broken, but it might, if someone looked at it wrong. That's how everything here feels. Off-kilter, slightly broken, but still holding on. You tilt the cup just enough to watch the surface film circle the rim, vanish, then come back again. Each tip of the wrist reveals a new shade, pale green, soft gray, then brown again, like the drink is hiding its own landscape. No one's watching you. They've all got their own cups, their own half-remembered stories, their own laughs that rise and vanish like a breeze slipping through the door. Across the table, someone tilts their head back to drink. Their throat moves like a baby bird swallowing something too big. They finish it all, set the cup down, tilt their head, and close their eyes. You can't tell if it's satisfaction or surrender. You've lost track of how much you've had. The cup still looks full,
Or maybe someone topped it off when you weren't looking. You sit still, hands wrapped around the thing, listening to other cups clink against one another. No rhythm, no music, just wood hitting clay, and the jagged breathing of people who've either had too much or were never built for this in the first place. No one tells you to finish, but no one tells you to stop. Each time you try to set the cup down and leave it, your hand lifts it again, out of habit or mimicry or the quiet fear of seeming out of place. Another sip. This one doesn't make you flinch. Maybe your body's learned, or maybe it's done caring. Everything starts to even out. Not good, but not bad enough to notice. Like a scratch on your arm that only stings at first, then just hums beneath the fabric. Your head feels a little lighter now, not because of the drink, maybe just slower breathing, or maybe you've started tuning everything out, the smells, the tastes, the clatter, the flicker of lanterns, and let yourself sink into the act of just sitting, among others who are also sitting, also drinking, also unsure what they're thinking. Each sip after that loses its edge. Your senses begin to line up like people at a slow bus stop. Your eyes stop searching. Your ears stop jumping. Your mouth goes along with it. And your hands stick to one job, holding the cup steady, keeping it upright, not bothering anyone. You breathe out, slow and soft, letting the warm, yeasty air slip out from your mouth and blend into the rest of it, the cloud that hangs in this room like laundry left too long in a damp kitchen. And for maybe the first time today, you don't feel like you're on the outside of things. Then another smell creeps in, closer, sharper, not from your cup, not from the person beside you. It's thicker, spicier, like something is bubbling on a fire not far away. You haven't seen it yet, but your nose has, and your stomach, long asleep, starts to shift. There's still a bit of drink left in the cup, rocking gently with each breath, and you're no longer sure whether you swallowed that last sip or just tried to forget how it felt. Your lips still feel sticky, like someone pressed old honey on them, and your tongue burns a little, like it touched a spoon left too long in the fire. Your stomach starts making noises that don't translate, neither hunger nor fullness, just a quiet reminder that maybe it's time to put something solid inside. You lean your elbow on the beer-stained table and instantly regret it as the sticky surface clings to your sleeve like it's claiming it. That little motion stirs someone behind the counter, not quick, not urgent, just enough to prove they saw you. You nod, don't say a word, just glance over at the big bubbling pot on the stove. A moment later, something steaming lands in front of you, not exactly a bowl, but something halfway between a basin and a pot, its rim uneven, and its iron handle cold as an old well. Inside is something thick and gray-brown, the kind of food that doesn't explain itself. Whatever it is, it's heavy enough to swallow the spoon whole and hold it there. The surface ripples like wet cement with a few bits peeking through, maybe vegetables, maybe cartilage, maybe something that once had legs. The smell hits the moment the steam reaches your face, not awful, but strong enough to make your eyebrows draw down like they're trying to shield you. You try to lift the bowl and realize the handle is slick, like it's been dipped in sheep fat. Your fingers slide, then stop, held fast by the sticky grease. You set it back down and decide to start with the spoon. It's already there, wooden, chipped, with a bent handle like someone once chewed on it out of boredom. You blow gently across the surface of the porridge, or whatever this is, then scoop a bit. It's still steaming, still hot.
and the first spoonful tastes like nothing but heat. Your tongue flinches too late, and a burn spreads under your lip, muting everything for a second. Still, you keep going, because not eating means more drinking, and your stomach doesn't want to float in beer alone. The second bite goes deeper, and now you can feel the texture. Not quite soft, not quite chewy, like a damp towel forgotten behind the stove. There's something rubbery, maybe tendon, maybe cabbage cooked into surrender, and something crunchy, like a bit of bone hiding inside egg whites. You chew, or at least press your teeth together, then swallow, hoping it all makes sense by the time it hits your gut. The smell gets clearer as you eat. There's fat, hard to tell what kind, and something that smells like an onion abandoned in a cellar. Sometimes you think it's burnt cloth, then boiled cabbage, then a wet wooden floor after a storm. Every breath carries more of it, like you're not just eating the food, you're living in it. At one point, your spoon digs up something round like a marble, soft like an overripe plum. You don't ask what it is. You just chew slowly, then swallow, and keep going, like someone who's long stopped questioning what life puts in front of them. Your stomach starts to warm, not comfortably, but at least it's quiet now. Your breathing slows, like your brain is willing to pretend this meal is safe. You glance around and see the person next to you eating too. No talking, no heavy breathing, just eating. The sound of spoons against bowls is like wind slipping under a cracked door, steady, tired, and worn thin. Every movement carries the smell of the stew, like you're dissolving into it, not just through your mouth, but through your skin, your clothes, your breath, even your thoughts. After a while you stop, unsure how much you've eaten. The bowl still looks full, or maybe the stew refilled itself. You set the spoon down, your hand trembling a little, not from fatigue, but because the handle's now coated your palm in grease. Your chest rises and falls like it's holding the meal in place, trying not to let it creep back up when you bend. Your shirt now smells like the stew and the table, and you, all mixed into one thick blend, like a bird's nest left damp under the rafters. You lean back, resting against the wooden wall, still warm from someone who just left. The smell clings to your nose even though you've stopped eating. You don't know what you just put in your body, but your belly seems quieter. You close your eyes for a second, not to sleep, just to give your eyelids a break. The bowl still breathes steam into your face, like it's alive and exhaling. Somewhere nearby a voice starts talking, soft, unfocused, like someone telling a story to their own shadow. And you're still there, with an empty bowl, a bent spoon, and a story that hasn't found its ending yet. You lean back against the rough wooden wall, still faintly warm, like someone else's back just left it moments ago. The wood here never really dries, just shifts from damp and cold to damp and warm, then back again. There's a smell rising from the cracks, like old sweat mixed with half-cured hide. But for now, your back isn't complaining. At least it's not dealing with the wind anymore. Your belly's still warm from that strange stew earlier, warm in the way that clenches your insides, not comforts them. That, along with the kind of booze that hits like quicklime, tilts your head to one side. You're not sleepy, not really awake either, just floating, like someone stirred up a muddy bucket with a bent stick and forgot to stop. The sounds in the tavern don't bite anymore. They've settled into a thick hum, like fog dragging its belly across wet grass. Somewhere, a scratchy voice is telling a story about a goat that sings, Or maybe drums, hard to tell. There are chuckles, bursts of laughter, then coughing fits that muffle them again. The tail rolls outward in crooked circles, then fades into the walls like wood smoke looking for a crack. Someone just off to your left is gambling with a knotted rope, the kind that might have once tied a barrel shut or held up trousers in winter. You don't know what the bet is, and no one seems to be winning. Still they laugh, shake their heads, slap each other's backs with the weight of a stone mill. Each slap shakes the bench, and your feet search for steadier ground. The rope scrapes across the wooden table with a squeal, like teeth grinding in half-sleep. Bowls clink, not for eating, more like a kitchen band trying out percussion. That sound rings inside your head like rain tapping a sagging thatch roof. Steady, half-forgotten, impossible to ignore. You let your arm fall, gravity pulling it downward, until it brushes against something furry. Not a coat, not a person. Probably a dog's tail. It shifts a little, then goes still, like it's decided to share the space whether you agree or not. It's warm, not clean, but warm. That's good enough for a night like this. The scent of ash slides into your nose, not sharp, just enough to remind you there's fire somewhere nearby. Fire here never shows itself. Just flickers of orange tucked behind silhouettes, flickering shadows in dirty water. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to let the spinning stop. Your neck stiffens from the angle, but you don't move. Someone behind you is counting softly, maybe drinks, maybe days since their last bath. You don't ask. Asking means listening, and listening feels like work. Everything's drifting now, slow as a river full of stories that never lead anywhere, paddled by aimless laughter and broken oars. Someone collapses forward, face in their arms, breathing like a wagon wheel sliding through wet clay. Someone else snores, soft but steady, enough to patch the holes between words. Every time someone stands, the whole table wobbles, like the tavern itself is taking a sip from the same jug. You wonder what you're doing here. Then forget the question. There's no answer worth chasing. The stories keep tumbling, like rocks in a barrel, loud, directionless. Someone brings up a three-legged cow. Someone else counters with a swimming bean. No one argues. No one checks facts. They just keep going. Like this place always saves a seat for the ridiculous. No one asks your name. No one offers a drink. And yet, you don't feel like you don't belong. You're just a chair that got filled. That's all this place needs, as long as you don't knock anything over. And so far you haven't. Your head still tilts, your eyes stay half-lidded, and your mouth stays dry. But your hands are warm, your feet are steady, and no one expects you to be sharp. There's a kind of comfort in that, like an old blanket or a door creak you grew up with. You breathe slow, letting yourself drift into a story about a chicken that dances with fire. And then, somewhere behind you, a plank lets out a sharp crack, the kind of sound that means the night's sliding into its quieter part. No one turns around, no one needs to. Around here, the cracks are part of the rhythm of living or of sleeping. You tilt your head a little more, resting your cheek on your arm, and where you touch the wall, the heat's still there. The story hasn't ended. You just don't need to hear it anymore. The story fades into the background, like a small boat drifting away from shore, leaving you behind with a shaky patch of wall and a dog's tail curled quiet beneath your hand. There's nothing left to listen for, no reason to follow. The tale has run through you like rainwater down a leaking gutter, leaving behind a few blurry streaks of sound with no clear shape. The man on your right is snoring now, uneven, but steady in its own strange rhythm, like fire in an old stove. Not loud, not soft either, just enough to remind you someone else is still alive nearby. The one on your left hasn't said a word, just leaned forward and given into the table like it's the most sensible place to end a long day and one too many drinks. You're in the middle, with no shoulder to lean on, but the wooden wall behind you still holds your back. It's not soft, not straight either, but you don't need either of those things. You just need something that doesn't move. And this wall, after all these years, hasn't gone anywhere. Your shoulders sit uneven, your neck tilted, and you know you'll feel it in the morning, but morning's not here yet. The fire cracks in fits and starts, like someone trying to light coals with wet fingers. Each little pop brings a puff of smoke that brushes your throat. You don't cough. You just close your eyes a little longer, letting the ash pass through your nose like wind through a damp coat. The smoke here smells warm, like wood that didn't burn all the way, with a hint of old jerky. You don't know where it's coming from, but somehow it's in your hair now. Your nape is damp and itchy, not from sweat, just some kind of dust that settled there for a while. You think about scratching, then don't. Scratching won't fix anything. Your hand's still on the floor, where that dog tail is tucked like a sack of fur. It's still warm, not moving, not whining, just twitching slightly with every snore in the distance. You're not even sure it is a dog. Doesn't matter. Warm is warm. Smoke from the hearth drifts low, not thick, just like a thin blanket someone's pulling over your face. Your eyes don't sting, they're just tired. No one's saying anything anymore, just breathing, wood creaking, and a few wayward sighs. Nobody's watching anyone, nobody's asking, nobody needs anything. The world has shrunk to a reach's radius, and everything outside the tavern is just a rumor now. You hear a hiccup behind you, a little hiccup, like someone swallowed wrong. Might have been a person, might have been a barrel. Either way, it's nothing to worry about. In this tavern, every sound's a companion, so long as nothing spills. And tonight, nothing spilled. That comforts you in some odd, simple way. The smell of singed wool brushes your nose. Someone shifted too close to the fire and lit a bit of their coat. Nobody fixes it. Nobody mentions it. Maybe the coat's too old to care about. Maybe this is the first time it's felt warm since last winter. You don't look. You just picture the smoke turning gray, melting into the glow, slipping into someone's hair beside you. Your belly settles, not from hunger, not from fullness. Just that the booze has stopped moving, and the stew's resting somewhere near your waist. Nothing's in a hurry, nothing's supposed to end just yet. The whole room is slowing, like a clock being wound backward, tick by soft tick, toward a time no one needs to remember exactly. Your fingertip brushes the floor tile. It's cold, but not sharp. Cold like something that used to be warm, then got left behind. Your hand slides across a streak of half-dry liquid, then over a chicken bone, or some bone, and then stops. No reason to lift it again. Gravity will take care of the rest. The person to your left starts breathing slow and even. The one to your right shifts into a faster snore, like a wooden cart rattling over potholes. You don't shut your eyes, but you don't really open them either. The firelight doesn't reach you, just flickers faintly on the rough wall, enough to know you're still here, and not enough to make you check again. You don't remember the last time you slept in real silence. Here, the quiet comes from no one asking if you're all right. No one asking who you are. no one needing to know, just being part of the crowd without needing a role to play. That's somehow softer than any fresh air waiting outside. You take a deep breath, not because you wanted to, but because you forgot to. That breath carries smoke, dog fur, warm ash, and a hint of someone else's old drink on their sleeve. It sinks into your chest like a stone in a well, and you let it stay there. You don't know what time it is now, and you don't need to. No one here's going to wake you just to tell you. You don't know when your eyes closed. Maybe right after the 12th snore from your right. Maybe after the dog's tail gave a twitch and settled in a new spot. Either way, it doesn't matter now. Everything's gone too soft to count. You feel a dull pressure in your hand. Something's resting on it. Not heavy, just warm and steady. The kind of weight that makes your fingers forget where skin ends and fur or floor begins. You don't bother moving. If you shift now, the warmth might go, and you'd rather it didn't. The air has thickened like an old winter blanket that's been hanging above the stove too long. Not dry, not damp, just dense enough to taste every speck of dust as you breathe. The smoke from the fire has cooled. Its scent sticks like sweat dried onto a shirt collar. You don't turn over, don't rub your eyes. Just lie still, like any movement might crack the quiet holding you in place. Your shoulders are starting to ache. Not sharp pain, just a weight building up like someone set 2 sacks of grain on each side and then walked away. You tilt your head a little, not to shift, just because it finds a lower place to rest. The wooden wall behind you isn't a support anymore. It's just the line between you and whatever's left of the tavern. Your back sinks into the straw. Each breath you let out feels like it presses you further in. The straw's not soft in the way a pillow is, more like something that used to be stiff and dry, but now carries the damp from boots and midnight air. It's cool, a little sticky, and it itches, but not in a way that gets you to scratch anymore. Your shirt clings to your skin, not from sweat, but from time. You and the fabric have spent so long together tonight, they've agreed not to part. Every breath you take lifts just a piece of it off your ribs before it settles again, like a wet curtain falling back in place. You don't tug at it, don't smooth it down. It's where it wants to be. The sounds around you have changed. No more talking, no more swearing. Even the laughter's given up. Just the faint wheeze of the fire, the quiet creak of someone shifting on a tired bench, and some kind of breathing, not yours, or maybe it is. Might be the tavern's. Maybe it's sleeping too. Your legs curl, then stretch, then curl again, like your body's flipping through its options for sleep. Eventually, you leave them turned to the side, one knee brushing the edge of the straw sack, the other ankle resting on something hard and spoon-shaped. You consider adjusting, then don't. Your body's done deciding. You don't dream. No pictures, no memories. Just a dull brownish gray, like late light sliding off a smoky wall. There's no story in your head, no voices, no names being said. Maybe your mind's shut up shop after too much of everything. Your chest keeps rising and falling, slow and even, like a wooden wheel turning gently on a dirt road. You don't try to pace it, don't even notice it much. Just feels like you're floating in something without corners, without walls, without bottom, just wrapped in a thick kind of warmth. Your arms starting to go numb, the little fingers colder than the rest, probably from resting on the floor too long. You don't switch hands. Your body's beginning to forget itself piece by piece. Your eyes are off.
Your ears only catch the gaps. Your nose still finds a hint of burnt something, but even that's faded. Your mouth's dry, but not enough to open. Somebody coughs. Then nothing. Maybe they drifted back to sleep. Maybe they left. You don't turn your head to check. Your eyes stay where they are. You hear a soft clink, maybe a cup nudged across a table, then a sigh. Maybe someone else, just a few feet away, is starting their own sleep. Everyone here seems to be heading the same direction. You feel your chest sink a little deeper, like something's gently tugging you toward the bottom of the straw. Your back's got a slow ache, your neck's stiff, but not enough to matter. The joints have started to quiet down, not numb, just quiet. And somehow, in that stillness, you feel more at ease than you ever did in a proper bed. You don't know how long you'll sleep. Don't need to. No one here's going to ask. No one will shake your shoulder. Nobody in this tavern needs you up early. There's nothing outside important enough to cut through this sleep. No chill left in the world stronger than your tiredness. You're not thinking anymore. Your back presses gently into the damp straw. Your chest rises with slow breaths, like counting each bit of ash that passes under your nose. The night isn't making any new sounds, and really, it doesn't need to.